In this video I'll give you pro tips about my best photographs of 2020. And to be honest, it took me years to see these things. I was so happy if this video would help you to succeed much faster than I did. Hi my friends, very nice to see you, and hopefully this video will be uploaded straight in the week of Christmas, so Merry Christmas to everyone out there. It's the end of the year and this is a really good time to reflect your photographs, to understand what worked and what didn't, to get your photography to the next level. So what I've done is I've gone through all my photographs of 2020 and I analyzed them, and I made already a video about how I analyze my photographs and how I rate them. So if you haven't seen this video, I will link it down in the description. My annual goal is to get out 10 to 15 5-star images a year, and this year I got out even 17 5-star images and I'm really happy with the results. And so I can't talk about all the 17 photographs obviously in this video, so I think the video would get a little bit long then. And so what I thought is I wanted to pick out the 5 best photographs, the top 5 of these 17 photographs, and let you choose for the best photograph of 2020. This was my original idea, but as I tried to choose for the 5 best photographs, I realized that it's impossible to do this because I'm really happy with each of these 17 photographs. There's really nothing inside what I don't like. So these are really 5-star images and I only give 5 stars if I'm really happy with everything inside the photographs. And so I thought what I will do is I will pick out 5 photographs where I can give you the most useful tips to improve your photography. But anyway, I will show you all 17 photographs in the end of this video, so get sure to see this video to the end. Well, let's see which tips we can get out from these 5 photographs. And these are my golden nuggets of 2020 if you want. So the first photograph I picked out for you is Hidden Gracias. I really like this photograph. It was so difficult to get a working vista composition with all these roots there. I like the colors, the flow, the balance, the depth. But what makes this photograph so special is I didn't photograph a root only. I photographed an end time scene, a herd of octopuses walking back to the water. I really love the story in this photograph. So what we can learn from this photograph, and I think this is a really good tip if you want to bring your photography to art. So my tip for you is don't look for the 3 dimensions of our world only. Look a little bit behind reality and maybe see an abstract story behind it. Look at the 4th dimension of photography if you want. This sounds after a really good title for a book, to be honest. So if I should ever write a book, I think this was the title I would go for. The 4th dimension of photography. And looking behind reality doesn't work for all photographs, of course, but I think it really helps you in some cases to get out something really outstanding. And this is what I did for Hidden Gracias, for instance, and I'm really happy with this one. Another photograph, what I'm also really happy about is sunset in the morning, and this is no typo or something like this. The sun rose and set, I think 15 minutes, 20 minutes after, something like this. It just appeared behind this gap in this mountain. And the thing what makes this photograph so special for me is that it wasn't really planned. It was just a fun shot for me, to be honest, because I planned to get out really fantastic red sky photographs, and I'm really happy with my red sky photographs, what I got out from this morning. But I knew that after the sun would get up, the sun would appear exactly at that gap behind, and I thought, why not getting also this photograph with me and I mean the conditions turned really fantastic, and I didn't expect to get a 5-star image. And what's really cool, this is the most sold print of 2020. You know, I don't measure my success by money, but in this case it was also bought by many photographers, what I really appreciate and what I never expected that photographers would buy my print. So thank you so much there for my friends. So what can we learn from this photograph? And you know, I'm really convinced that planning is such a good base to get out a really fantastic photograph. And I totally recommend planning, but, and this is really important, you could miss a masterpiece if you are not open for the unexpected. So my tip here is always be flexible, always be open for the unexpected. So sunset in the morning, I'm really happy with this one. Oh, before I come to the next photograph, what you don't know is I've been out for one more photograph, what I took, what you haven't seen before, and I'm really happy with this one, and it's also one of the 5-star images of 2020. I've been out for one more photograph, what I took, what you haven't seen before, and I'm really happy with this one. But before I show you, let me show you Guardians of a Veteran. I showed this photograph already sometimes in my videos. I felt really bad on that day. I had so much stress in my company, but I was able to bring these negative emotions into my composition while turning my emotions into positive. And this is something what could end up in a really strong photograph. And we have an abstract story here. We have these young trees around guarding this old dead stump, and yeah, I mean, this is art for me. I needed my negative emotions to see the composition. This was so important here. So the first tip here, yeah, I have 2 tips here for this photograph. So my first tip is always listen to your emotions. Can you listen to emotions? Always feel your emotions and try to bring them into your photograph. Be influenced by your emotions also when it comes down to find a composition. And this could lead in something really outstanding. So if you haven't seen the video where I took this photograph, I will link it down in the description. I will link the videos of all 5 photographs down in the description, so if you're interested. By the way, but as already mentioned, I was out once more to take a photograph, what you haven't seen, and I'm really happy with this one. I've been there again in autumn. I had my vlogging gear with me, but I didn't vlog about because yeah, I didn't have enough stuff for a whole video. So it was a foggy morning in the autumn, and you know, we don't have all too often fog in our area, and when we have it, then just for a few minutes, and this is why I concentrated on getting the photograph before it disappeared. So yeah, this is the autumn version of Guardians of a Veteran. I call it Guardians of a Veteran in autumn. I'm not sure what you think, which version you find better, the autumn version or the spring version. To be honest, I really like the spring version, and it also got 5 stars, but I'm really blown away from the autumn version. You could leave me a comment below. I'm really interested what you think. So what can we learn out from this photograph? I mentioned already the first tip, and the second tip is use series to expand your stories. So when you take a photograph, you're always limited to this one frame to tell your story. But when you have series or at least a second photograph, maybe from another season or whatever, or a detail shot or whatever, it will expand your story, and also, I think also the story will change a little bit through this. So Guardians of a Veteran in spring and autumn, I'm really happy with them. So let's come to the 5th photograph of my best photographs of 2020, and I'm really happy about. I took it recently in the water paradise straight behind Hallstatt. If you haven't seen the video, I can really recommend. It's such a beautiful place, it's absolutely amazing. I'm really happy with this composition. I really like everything about it. The balance, the colors, the depth. The flow is quite interesting here. Your eyes get led in from the left bottom corner up to the end of this log, in a zigzag over this horizontal log up to the waterfall. Lines move around the waterfall, and wherever you look, any line holds you inside the frame and triggers you to look around the image. So it's an image what holds you in the frame. That's something what I always try for my photographs, but here it works really amazingly. An interesting fact about this photograph is that I decided not to use a circular polarizer, and I mean, it was really wet there. All the rocks were wet. we had lots of glare there, and it had made a big difference if I had used a polarizer. So what I always do is I take a polarizer, I screw it, I don't screw it, I rotate it and have a look if anything changed, if it has an impact. And in this case it really had a big impact. But I anyway decided not to use the polarizer, and the reason therefore is, so when we look here at the waterfall back there, the reflections at the rock are significant for this composition. It draws your eyes and it really adds to the story because the rocks were wet. And also here at the left-hand boulder, the glare gives weight to the rock and lets your eyes rest there. And especially here for this composition, what is all about letting the eyes move around. It's really important always to have some points or some areas in the composition where you can rest your eyes. And it's so fantastic how the eyes move through this composition. So what I found out is, and I saw this so often in my workshops, that we tend to use a circular polarizer when we either see water out there. I don't do this, to be honest. What I do is I always have a look through the polarizer, try to find out what it does, and then I decide to use one or not. But what we really should avoid is when it has an impact, it doesn't mean that you should use it. Always think about, does the glare add to your composition or not? And when it would add to your story not to use a polarizer, put the fingers away from the circular polarizer. So yeah, this is what we can learn from this photograph. Don't always use a circular polarizer, always ask yourself, does it add anything? And just go for it when it really adds anything. So I'm really happy with this photograph, so let's come to the next. Oh, and from this photograph you can learn something really important. And to be honest, it took me so long to understand, but it had such a big impact as I got it to work, so this is really a pro tip. And so this photograph means really a lot to me because, yeah, it's the waterfall near to my grandmother's house. I was so often at that waterfall when I was a child, but I never spotted this rock. And the reason therefore is, you have to walk through the water, you have to climb up a rock that you're able to see this little rock down there in the creek. And you know, children are not allowed to do such crazy things. And quite interesting here is, I didn't climb up to get out this photograph what I finally got out there. I just wanted to have a better view to this beautiful waterfall back there. But as I was up there finally, I found out that the composition would tell a much better story when I'd cut this beautiful waterfall back there. So let's imagine this situation. I found an outstanding subject. I climbed up a rock to get a better view down. I mean, it was not all too high, but it was slippery and it was a little bit dangerous not to fall into the creek. So, you know, you only do this when you're really convinced of that, what you will get up there. And finally, I climbed up there, but I cut out 80% of this beautiful subject. But when I listen to this now, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? So what can we learn from this photograph? And it's really harder than it sounds, but it could really lead into something fantastic. So my tip for you is, don't fear to cut out the most beautiful element of your composition if it adds, this is the most important thing, if it adds to the story. And this sounds so easy, doesn't it? But it took me years to get it to work. Not really to work, just to understand it. And I think it is all about how to find a composition. And I made already a video about this topic, so if you're interested about tips how to find a composition, a compelling composition, I will link it also down in the description. And generally, if you're interested about tips about the compositions, about all these 5 photographs you've seen here in this video, I will link all these videos down in the description. And as already mentioned, these were only 5 of my 5-star images of 2020, and I will show you all of the 17 images now in the end of this video. And yeah, I were really interested, what do you think? What is the best photograph for you? Leave me a comment below and also why you think it is the best. So I wish you Merry Christmas and I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, please give me a thumb up, share this video with your friends, maybe on Facebook, Instagram. You know, it would really help me to grow this channel. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't have already. Thank you so much for watching. See you next Saturday. Bye.
One day it's over, baby. Someday we'll find a way out. When all our strings are broken, you'll see that we could do without. When all our dreams are over, when all our hopes are dead, with this town turning colder, with all our colors bleeding red, I'll be wrinkled when the storms are hit. I'll sing you any song you want.